All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a fascinating case from the National Company Law Tribunal. And believe me, it's a huge lesson for anyone who even touches the world of insolvency. The whole thing really boils down to one critical, non-negotiable rule. And it all kicks off with a really simple question.
I mean, really think about it. In any super complex legal process, what happens if the very person appointed to run the show is from the get-go not legally allowed to even be there? Well, that's the exact bombshell that dropped in the case of Punjab National Bank versus Karnal Agriculture Industries.
So let's set the scene. On the surface, this looked like any other day at the office for an insolvency case. A financial creditor files an application, the court says, yep, let's do it, and the whole formal process, the CIRP, gets rolling. Everything seemed totally by the book.
And all the usual suspects were there. You had Punjab National Bank, the financial creditor, kicking things off. You had the corporate debtor, Karnal Agricultural Industries. And then the tribunal appointed Mr. Arvind Kumar as the interim resolution professional, the IRP. A totally standard setup. But then, things got interesting.
The curveball didn't come from the bank or the company. Nope. In what is a pretty remarkable show of professional honesty, the problem was flagged by the brand new IRP himself. Just after getting his appointment email, Mr. Kumar went straight to the court to report a massive problem with his own eligibility.
Can you imagine? He basically told the tribunal, hey, just so you know, my authorization for assignment, my AFA, it's not valid. He knew this was a deal breaker, and with some serious integrity, he brought it to their attention immediately and asked to be replaced. So what is this AFA thing that's so important?
Okay, so the AFA is basically a license to practice. It's not a nice to have. Under the IBBI's rules, specifically Regulation 7A, it is an absolute non-negotiable requirement. An insolvency professional literally cannot accept a new assignment or even continue an existing one without a valid AFA. It's not a guideline, it's a brick wall.
And the difference here is night and day. If you have a valid AFA, great, you're eligible, the process moves forward, you can do your job. But without it, you are completely ineligible. The whole process just grinds to a halt, because any action you take could be challenged and declared invalid later on. This black and white nature of the rule is precisely why the judge's decision was so straightforward.
So, from the judge's point of view, this wasn't some complex legal puzzle they had to solve. It was simple. The IRP gave them a fact, and that fact ran headfirst into a very clear, unambiguous rule. The court's only job really was to apply that rule to protect the whole process from falling apart.
You could almost see the flowchart in the judge's mind. Step 1, what's the fact? The IRP's AFA is expired. Got it. Step 2, what's the rule? Regulation 7A says a valid AFA is mandatory. Okay. Step 3, what's the conclusion? Well, the appointed IRP is legally ineligible, which leads to the only possible action. Step 4, he has to be replaced, period.
With that kind of crystal clear logic, the court's final decision was, well, a no-brainer. There was no wiggle room, no gray area to argue about. The appointment was invalid from the moment it was made, and the only way to keep the insolvency process legal and on track was to get a new, fully qualified professional in there pronto. And if there is one lesson that this entire case just hammers home, it's this. In a system with stakes this high, procedural rules aren't just suggestions. They are the absolute foundation of everything. Compliance isn't a choice, it's the whole game.
So, the NCLT moved fast to fix things. They appointed a new IRP, Mr. Ravi Bansal. And it's worth noting, the financial creditor, PNB, hadn't actually suggested a replacement. So the tribunal had to step in and make the call themselves to get the ball rolling again.
Okay, so that's the story of the case. But what does it actually mean for people in the real world? Let's break down the practical lessons here, because they are super clear for everybody involved in this ecosystem.
For all you insolvency professionals, the message couldn't be clearer. Check, double-check, and triple-check your AFA status before you even think about saying yes to a job. For creditors, here's a pro tip. Always have a backup name ready to go in your application. It could save you a ton of time and headaches. And for the system as a whole, this is a perfect reminder that following the small rules is what gives the entire framework its strength and its credibility.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? We always talk about these big, grand legal ideas, but maybe, just maybe, a system's real strength, its real integrity, comes from just getting the basics right every single time. It's a powerful lesson about the hidden power of procedural perfection.